Okay, we're going to do video 2 for today. We just finished up with the eyes. Now we're going to do the nose, how to render a nose a little bit. So first off, the most important thing when you're doing a portrait is how low is that nose. And so you got to figure out how to get the correct length of it. Right here's the baseline for our eyes, so that, or the guideline for our eyes, so that's going to be the top of the nose for our purposes. So we need one down here to show the length. How do we find that length of the nose? Usually this works out pretty good in general, but each person is different. But usually if it goes from about the middle between the two eyes to almost the end of to the length of the other eye. So if we were to measure from here to here, it would be similar as here to here. Now the only way to do that is to actually measure it. And once again, you can't see me do this, but I'm gonna. First you measure with your thumb and pencil tip this distance from here to here. Then you line it up on this axis right here and measure it so that you know exactly that length. So let's double check. I'm going to check it over. I'm going to check the length of the nose first. And yes, it is pretty much from here to here. So I'm going to find, since we're not going to really be drawing the eyes so much, we're just going to be drawing the nose, I'll just give you an example. So right here's the length from here. And for the nose, it goes down to right about here. That's about the length of the nose that we're going to show. And secondly, the next thing you need to know is the width of the nose. So here to here, what is that width? Once again, use your thumb, hold the pencil in your hand with the thumb and pencil tip, and measure it. And I've found measuring this width on this one, it's about the same distance as here to here. So I'm going to measure that on my over here. See if that's accurate. A little bit more wider. Yay. Okay. And the last thing you need to do is this perpendicular line. When you're placing it on your face, you don't want that nose to be over here. That just won't look good. Okay? So we need to make sure that it's right down the center. Right through here. It's very symmetrical again. Okay? So you really, where's that line? You got to eyeball it first, and then just measure the distance from here to here. And is it the same as the distance from here to here? The very definition of equal. So if these distances are equal on both sides of that line, there is your center. So let me bring this up real quick. I pre-did this one, so I'm going to bring this over. As you can see, here's the line. It goes straight down and it separates the nose all the way down to the bottom. Very symmetrical. So we'll draw this over here. And keep in mind these eyes, it's not quite square, so this nose is going to be a little bit tipped also. So now we know where the bottom is of this nose, and we know where the middle of it is, and so really now and we know the width. So we got the width. So really the point now is to start creating these shapes that we see. And since the nose is round and fleshy all the way around, there's no sharp edges like in an eye. You don't get that kind of thing. Now, a really fleshy face, you might get a bit in here, a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be a pretty smooth, rounded edges here. So we're just going to start looking at these shapes. Look at the angles that are coming off that base. Angle coming off that base here. Keep in mind this nose is symmetrical. An important thing to see here, notice how it's very much a V shape, a wide. Some people have a very sharp nose in there, and others are very flat and wide. One of my examples today was a very flat, wide sketch in class. But this one is a very regular nose. So that's a little bit of a, see that underneath the nose, the shape is like this. Okay, we're just going to transfer that type of shape, comparing what we see here with what we're putting over here. Okay, and how am I looking at this? This is nice and level, so we want this to be nice and level. He's an actor, come on, we can't have any goofy looking things going on here. And does that line go all the way over? Nope, it stops in here. So there's a bit of a gap here and a little bit of gap here. Let me come in here with my soft eraser. Get it to the right. As small as I can get it here. And then really it is a matter of shading which creates these shapes. And notice, since this light's always coming from the bottom, you always got more shadow underneath it than the areas on top. Usually the highlights are hidden up in here. So notice that nice angle there. Kind of a bit more rounded over here. Come back in with my soft eraser a little bit. And that kind of gives you an idea for the nose. Do just a little bit more. Always there's shadowing. There's some, with my drawing thing, I have to do a little bit more to make this work right. So I'm just doing a little hatching, cross hatching to make it work. Use that as my example of shading. Okay. So you want to try and keep that nice, uniform, soft shape around that nose. Now keep in mind, let's take a look at that nose. His nose, you don't want to pull something like this off where it's a really sharp angle or too shallow. You want to keep it what you see. Don't invent. It's the hardest thing when you're doing portrait work, is inventing stuff that is not there. Okay, I think that's it for the nose. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Okay, bye-bye.